gotta pick some winners, man.
We must have Matthew Crawley. Let us talk about Count Orlok. Skarsgård, I am Nosferatu, but also Orlok. I have mustache. I am scary. By using deep voice like this, people will give me the Oscar. I've earned the Oscar. I am transformative in my delivery, and I take my R's and I make them Romanian.
Yeah. Got to roll those R's, man. It's challenging. The R is important.
So transformative. Transformative.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny with Anya. Like, she'll say some things because she's got that Eastern European thing, and she will say, like, rap or something, and I think she's kidding. Like, I think she's just fucking around with the word, but that's actually how she's talking. It's unusual. It's funny. I think it's really cute, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. So it's not a win for you. How many Robert Eggers movies have you seen? He's got, what, 4, right? Or this is number 4?
Yeah, he has the Witch, then he has The Northman, and then he has
Lighthouse.
Nosferatu and Lighthouse.
Yeah,
I want you to start. I have a page of notes here. Well, not a page, like a note document. So not a page, probably like a quarter of a page. You start.
There's another director, Ari Aster, who focuses more on horror, and he does some pretty disturbing stuff, I would say, with Hereditary and Midsommar. These are highly produced art films. That's what I would say, or that's at least how they're marketed. There's no telling, or at least I don't know what the budget was behind this, but I saw a little brief behind-the-scenes feature on this movie, and they were constructing an entire city, an entire village for the filming of this movie. So that kind of gives you a little window into the scale and the scope of the whole thing. I would call this a gothic love story. I would call it gothic Shakespeare. I thought this was great. It was super unique. I know the original Nosferatu only because I went to film school and I was kind of force-fed it in multiple classes. So I'm familiar with that. I believe it's a 20s silent film. I believe it's German. And I know the general story, right? Even though it's a silent film, you know what's happening with the love and the intention there behind Count Orlok and what he's going after. And I think this is just an elevated, highly produced version of that. And it was really well done. Performances for me were fantastic. I thought Depp, I don't know her from anything else. I know she's Johnny Depp's daughter. I think what she had to do here, or the task she was given, is extraordinarily difficult for any performer. From the myriad of different emotions that you have to go through to the physicality of a performance like this is maybe easy to someone who's looking at it saying, oh, I could do that, but fuck, you could. Are you kidding me? Like, this was next level impressive what she did. Always like Nicholas Hoult. I thought he was great. He really, really embodied that fear well when he first encountered Orlok. It's hard not to be engrossed in a story like this, at least for me. I mean, I did see it in a theater, so I think that enhances the experience, obviously. But just the sets and the cinematography and the scope of this whole thing, it was beautiful to see, and it was very immersive. And I thought Skarsgård was outstanding. I didn't know what Orlok was going to look like. Of course, I had some expectations. The actor Max Schreck in the 1920s played the original Nosferatu, and it's a pretty iconic image. So you kind of have an idea, maybe it's something like that, but once you see how they did Skarsgård, it's zero, it's nothing like that. But what a menacing, powerful presence he was, at least for me, on camera. And that scene, so many scenes, but in particular the one where he's devouring the children, the 2 girls in the home, that was very powerful. There was some powerful imagery. I thought it was great. And the more I thought about it after I watched it in the theater, I thought that was good. I'm glad I saw that. But the more I think about it, the more I'm impressed. And I do want to see it again. I want to see it with subtitles, because I feel like I was maybe missing some things and I would pick up on some new nuance.
Not to worry there. You didn't miss anything. It just sucks.
To the story, it just sucks. Yeah, the whole thing sucks. It was just bad. Flushed down the toilet.
No, keep that.
And there were subtle elements of humor that I picked up on. I think Eggers does or Eggers does intentionally in a lot of his movies that are super subtle. And I can't think of specifics here, but mainly I think it was from Dafoe and his character, or maybe that's just Dafoe being who he is as a performer. But yeah, I do like that.
He mentioned that during an interview, like he came in to bring in a little bit of comedic relief of sorts. You know, it's funny.
Go Dan.
It's funny how much this movie. It's funny how much this movie really bothered me. When I say I spent a whole week on it, I probably spent an unnecessary amount of time in this because I knew we'd talk. I already had an idea you'd like it. I had an idea what the general, Reddit audience would call this and think about it. And I'm like,
the simps.
That's not fair. I'll get into it. I was just getting more frustrated, right? And so I was like, okay, again, look at reviews, read other stuff, see the consistency, see if you're, just smelling your own farts. I hate that phrase, by the way.
Me too.
Better way of saying it. Just see if you're kind of in an echo chamber, right? Then I'm like, go to you. I even went on YouTube. I was like, Nosferatu great or Nosferatu bad or Nosferatu suck. And then I looked at a bunch of reviews, and I spent many, many, many hours like researching this, kind of like my background, like a product manager would. Like you're like, looking at the competition, getting analytics, figuring out like all this stuff. And it just kind of comes back to the same thing. And I can't stand this crap it's modern art. And it's not art. I hate that term. Modern art is not art. It's modern art as it is right now. It's just money laundering. And that's why it's so unexplainably weird. Why there's like a banana on like a fucking, backdrop, which that's actually true.
I know. I saw it.
People actually call it art, but there has to be a reason people do it. Like they're not. Everyone isn't mass delusion. Like some of these people are really smart. These New York types, even though I like to make fun of, like they're not idiots. I'm like, and then you realize, well, it's money laundering. That's why, right? That's the big secret, and they have to maintain the illusion that it's amazing to keep that going, right? That's the actual hustle, if that makes sense. So I'm like, what's the hustle of these movies? Because they're not good. Why is it not good? Start with the positive. I'm giving you now my feedback and every negative or neutral comment I saw. And they are pretty consistent, which is kind of encouraging. Cinematography, incredible. Not taking that away. Absolutely. Costume, holy shit. I watched the entire documentary on the woman who did the costumes. Amazing. Amazing, right? Like you could tell she put in the time and she put in the work, Set pieces, gorgeous, brilliance. Takes you away to that time period. Really does. You feel like you're in it. Performances, I don't want to hear anything about Rose. I'm so sick of hearing Rose because she fucking DiCaprio in The Revenant, which is what they gave him the Oscar for, which he didn't deserve it. In fact, we talked about it, where Tom Hardy deserved when he did, because he screamed and moaned and crawled on the floor, and people call that like difficult. Or this girl rolls her eyes in the back of her head, tries to tear off her corset because she's so possessed by him seducing, raping her, making her a thrall or something. She has to halfway through, tear it off. Every other scene is her like okay.
Every other scene?
I
think it happened like 3 times in the whole movie.
No, every other scene she's got some form of weird. So scene 1 starts it. Scene where she's taking off her coat or trying to rip it off.
Yeah, she's like outside or something, right? That really quick one.
Yeah, the opening scene, like, right, which is like her being psychically finger blasted by fucking, I guess, Nosferatu or something.
Yeah, it's long fingers.
But we got to put the sexuality, because if we don't put the sexuality in, then A24 we're gonna get in trouble with that.
This story is inherently sexual.
No,
period.
Nosferatu from the beginning was not.
It's Dracula.
It's Nosferatu, which is based off. And Nosferatu is not about that at all. Nosferatu actually is backstory. It's a silent film. Nosferatu, Nicholas Hoult character, while he's in the castle, starts researching vampire. It gives some backstory, like a good story does. And he starts finding out about vampires and what they are and finding out more about it. And the way Nosferatu finds out about a woman is he has a portrait of her. And the portrait, he looks at her neck, and her neck looks so appealing because she's so pure or whatever else, not sexual. And Orlok is like so taken by it that he wants to drain her life essence, right? Because he's evil and she's so pure. That's the original story. And Eggers is like, well, pure, what's the opposite of pure? I know, sex. Let's put sex, let's make it all about, let's have a guy do actual necrophilia, like some Hostel movie or Terrifier 3, the same sort of like shock porn, but we'll have someone do actual necrophilia in a movie. That's how I'm going to show I'm an artist. I did necrophilia. I did it. I can't stand it. It makes me so flabbergasted. And by the way, I really would ask you, like, go look at the 6, 7s, 6, 7s, 5s, 0s, 1s, which 1s and 5s and 0s are not, 1s and 0s are not fair. It's all the same thing. In fact, I took one guy, this guy's review is perfect. Let me just read it if I can. The cast, cinematography, film location, set design, costume, music, and period piece are off the charts. They're absolutely breathtaking. I agree. What I find tiresome is so annoying is that they have fallen into the same stupid trap that nearly every vampire movie does, which is adding nudity and sex scenes that literally do not add anything but make people uncomfortable.
I mean,
much time has been.
Don't you think it's essentially it's a love story here, and they're dealing with this man who's trying to improve the life for his wife, and he realizes that there's almost a supernatural competition in this Nosferatu character, and he's got to compete with that. He has to come to terms with that somehow, some way, and realize it and understand what it is. And he can't fully until the unfortunate thing has happened and they've connected and died. I mean, I think the sexuality is a completely necessary part of the story. The story doesn't exist without it.
The story's not. It's not from the original. It's not in the original. So, I mean, by definition, it doesn't. Nosferatu original does not have that in it. Nosferatu original was exactly what I said. And the only way a maiden could take him away is a maiden of purity must give herself her blood, give herself to him, not sexually, just to give her life for him, right? And that's the love story, is she was so willing to give her life on behalf of the guy, not give her life and spread her legs on a bed because she has to, which, by the way, is probably some fucking nuance from Eggers to do some sort of women's liberation. The more I thought of it, I'm like, why did he actually do that? Or why did I have to see Orlok's dong? Why did I have to see that? Why was it artistic? It wasn't artistic, by the way. It was just shock porn, like they do in Game of Thrones, where they're like, well, I got to show dicks, which is common. This is like a trend, this dick stuff. Like, I don't know. It's progressive crap from A24 to put in the annals of Hereditary, Midsummer, and all these other over-the-top, like Hereditary, at the end of it, where like she's hanging from the ceiling and stabbing herself in the neck and being over-the-top shocking, just to be shocking. And that's why it's done. It's just to be shocking. So people later on in film forums can say, this guy clearly didn't get it. He says he's sophisticated, but he doesn't get the banana on the wall. It represents the simplicity of design. He doesn't, there's more. Yeah, I do get it. I actually do get it. It's progressive crap. It's A24. That's all they do is this kind of crap. And they call it art. And if you don't say it's art, then you're not in the club, and all the New York types laugh at you because you missed the entire plot.
Was this A24? Nosferatu?
Yeah, it was produced by them.
Oh, it was? I didn't know that. Okay.
They're all Midsummer. That's why I mentioned them, because they're all.
Yeah, I'm super familiar with them. It started out as kind of an independent studio, and it's been very successful over the last 10 years, producing a lot of very profitable movies on low budget.
You know, I actually have notes. I'm going off script. I guess because it bothered me that much. And then I really did, just to be fair, because it's going to sound like anyone might listen and say, like, he missed it, or he's being emotional about it, or he's being too, like, subjective. I spent more time than I should have. I really did. Probably 10, 15 hours, maybe. Like watching reviews of the good, watching reviews of the bad, reading them, interpreting them, and like trying to get to it. And the bad and the neutral ones were actually pretty consistent. And the good were as well. The good just gloss over things. They say the same things the bad do, but they still give it a great score. They say brilliant set design, great performances. I don't think Rose did a great performance. I'll die on that hill. I think people that did was Aaron Taylor Johnson, I thought did really good.
He was good.
I liked him a lot.
I like him in general.
I like Hoult a lot, like a lot since Warm Bodies. I thought he was okay. In fairness, he doesn't get much range.
I think as a grown man to play genuinely afraid on that level is pretty challenging, and I think he did it really, really well.
I think he did it really well too, but it didn't fit. Orlok's essence and his presence is so fear-inducing that it drives a sane man almost insane. Yeah, I understand that, but nothing matched that. The reveal of him, I'm sorry, the costume was horrible. He looks like he's 120 and he has a mustache. Right?
Yeah, it looks different. Definitely. Yeah, it didn't bother me. I read, whether this is true or not, I don't know. I read that Skarsgård, initially when he first had the makeup on, was upset because he thought that he looked too much like the Grinch.
Yeah, it was pretty laughable. Dude, I will say, I'll take a picture for you again. It was like, if you see it, I guarantee you'll like it. When I was halfway done, I had it skipped, the movie skipped. And so it revealed it on the cover of the place I was watching it of that. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be the reveal. I'm like, I can't wait. You can see Bill's eyes, but then you can see the original Nosferatu. And I was like, okay, that actually looks really good. It's not in the movie though. When the final scene, I thought he was like sucking blood to get enough power to turn into that. And then he would be powered up. Right. But no, he's just pruny old man the whole movie. And then the kid thing is funny. I'm so opposite in the kid thing. It's just more shock porn. Like, gotta have children dying, along with necrophilia, along with like overt sexuality, along with everything that's shocking. Because if we make it shocking, then it's artsy.
Well, don't you think that's kind of a requirement now? And really, how do you do effective horror?
You do like Smile, the first one, which I thought was actually extremely good. And we both talked about it and agreed that it was really great, and it didn't go for cheap, and we high-fived about it, and it's definitely possible. But if you have a guy who's wanting to put stupid shit like written and directed for the screen, shut the fuck up. Written and directed for the screen, it's so pretentious. It fits perfectly. Like, I couldn't be like, again, like it seems like nuance. Someone would say, okay, that's nuance. It's not fair. It is fair. You consciously made that decision, right? And so what would he say in defense? Well, in the past, there was things written for plays and movies, and to be clear, this was written for the screen, and I was directed, and I did both, and I wanted to define or, delineate. No, you didn't. You made it because it sounds old-timey, artsy, and you think it's clever to say that and impress people with you saying written and directed for the screen. It fits the pretentious nature of all of it, nature of the people that overpraise it. And sorry, I missed that point. The bad and good was all the same. Cinematography, set design, costume, performances. There was a lot of variance in performance. I'll say that. Like, no one was consistent on performance. Some people thought Depp was atrocious. Some overpraised her. A lot didn't like Dafoe's. Most did not like his performance. I'm talking about probably like 100 reviews, like actually 100 reviews. Most didn't like him, but liked everyone else in varying degrees, right? But then the negative would talk about there being no story, it being, incomprehensible, not making sense, and over-sexualized. The positive wouldn't say much about the story at all. It would just stick with those things, then give it a positive score. That's not enough to carry a movie. It has to be a movie. You can't just have 2 of the 6 elements to make it a great film. You have to have 5 of the 6, probably. 6 of the 6 in best case. 4 of 6 if it's okay. This is like 3. And I'm making these numbers up. I spent an alarming amount of time researching it because these are things where I'm just like, am I in my own little like corner here? And I'm not, from what I saw the research on. It bothered. Like, again, this isn't how we have to make a comparison. Like, you look at something like The Joker, right? If we're looking for like top performances, The Joker, right? The music, the set, the acting, the theme. I can't say enough. The theme, everything about it was just a total movie. And it was artsy, by the way. That was an artsy film.
Sure.
But it was just exceptional. Like, exceptional. This movie is like 3 of the 6, 2 of the 6. But people like overpraise it. It's like when someone has like the most beautiful woman you've ever seen in your life. And then all the friends are like, yeah, but she's not that, I don't know, man. She doesn't really seem to care about you. And she's nice, but not like that. I don't really know if I really try, but she's so beautiful. You're like, wow, dude, she's gorgeous, isn't she? You're like, yeah, no, I get it. But like, that doesn't make it a total person.
Yeah.
And that's what this film is. And all the artsy people want to beat you over the head. So in that same case, I'd say, I don't know, man. I don't know if she's that nice a person, if I can say that. And you'd be like, oh, what? But she's, so you don't think she's like beautiful? I'm like, no, I said she's beautiful. I just don't think these other things are there.
I'll stay on the hill. No. I'll stay on the hill that I'm on. I enjoyed it. I think it's cool what they did. And I don't, again, I'll go back. Sure, the 1920s version isn't sexual, but I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen this. I would have to go back and kind of dissect it a little bit more and rewatch it. But that's kind of the underlying motivation is love and their connection, their physical connection. This is a vampire that is in that space, in that world. This is what happens. And this was a very unique take on that. And I think it was a cool swing, and I think they accomplished something different here. And I think it worked.
What do you think they did different?
What do you mean? Like as far as story structure?
Yeah, or the biggest thing I heard that people kept, calling it out for was being just like the Francis Ford Coppola one with...
the Bram Stoker's, what is it? Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman. Yeah, there was definitely a sexual. There was a sexual element to that in his character, if I remember correctly, with him licking the blood off the knife and that sort of thing. More of a Shakespearean element, I would say. And it's just a one-on-one story. He's driven towards this one woman. That's it. And the Hoult character, he can't get over the looming presence of this figure that's going after the woman that he loves, and it loves him, no doubt. But he realizes that there's no way he can ultimately win this situation. And I think that is a interesting thing to kind of think about for a lot of men in this world. Say if you're into a girl, if you're dating a girl, and all of a sudden this, really unusual alpha who may not be conventionally attractive. Maybe he's kind of a dirty, grungy rock star, and he's got this edgy element. He's quiet, brooding, and mysterious, and she's drawn to him. And it won't go away. It's just what it is. This is...
Yeah, but it's done that way through, like, Wolf of Wall Street, where he drops the one chick for the famous nude scene with the Australian chick. Come on.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, and it's because she's shown in his life multiple times with the other woman there, and you get a chance to marinate in it and see how she's losing her grip on him. This one is some psychic fucking second, third base blast. I don't know what you want to call it. Like, it's not explained. It doesn't have to be. Yes, it does. Like, things do need to be explained or tied to, right? Or it takes away from the impact of things, right? It does. This is not explained. The first scene is like, you were picked. Why was she picked? Dan, she's pure and he's evil. What are you doing? I'm like, okay, fine. So make her like pure and her dad's like a reverend, and he has like some long-standing tie against evil or something. And by casting out a demon in the past, he was cursed and told, something like, give me backstory as to why was she chosen in the entire world? Because presumably that's what is in the whole world. She was, why? Did you give me any scenes to see how good and pure and like the snow she was? No, the first scene is her getting not sex molested because she's into it, I guess, and shameful for it. Like, it's just the same stuff I complain about, because it does need backstory, it does need explanation, it's not a silent film anymore. And by the way, in the silent film, that's why they probably didn't do the sexuality thing, because it makes it complicated. They just made it simple as she was pure and he was evil, right? Which, by the way, still doesn't explain it. But then they added on top of that without further explaining it. I don't know. There's nothing I find impressive about the story, which is the most important part every time. Story and characters.
Well, and I do think with Dracula, I mean, I know probably not nearly enough, maybe even to make this comment, but Dracula movies are generally more about style and atmosphere than story. I mean, it's kind of the history of that space. If my memory serves me correctly, it's more about that is what this is. And I mean, with that being said, I think the director fed into that and followed that path. He didn't stray too far from that.
I mean, great. Yeah, I agree. Then you make Dracula Untold, which is not a bad movie. It's a 6.5, maybe a 7. Then you get, I don't know, Warm Bodies. Well, actually, Warm Bodies is a pretty good vampire movie, but you don't get to be Let the Right One In.
I thought that was a zombie movie.
Oh, it is. Thanks. Thanks for correction.
No, it's fine. And sorry, let the Right One In. Is that the one you just?
Yeah, I was gonna say that one I would call pretty exceptional. Actually,
phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, not like up here, because the story is great.
Sure.
The acting is great. Both versions, by the way, the adapted version that deserves to be in the 8.5 plus. This movie does not. If we're gonna do atmosphere, then great. You can't get you can't get an exceptional. You can't even get like a very great if you just did this. That's what Fast and Furious does, right? Hey, how are these guys like in this? Yeah, shut up, dude. Who cares? It's about cars and stuff. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I am doing that, aren't I? Right? Because that's what it is. Great. This is the same version. Just because they say things like, doth thou protest too much, sir? Like, it's still Fast and Furious style. It's still Transformers, but just A24. It's the Transformers of A24.
Wow.
It doesn't have everything. It just has that going for it. It is, because all these fucking theaters.
I love that take. I would have loved to have seen Michael Bay direct this. That would have been interesting. Yeah, cool, man. Were you just pissed off, or were you entertained ever?
Check my receipts. I kept saying I wanted to watch it. I was never negative. I was like, dude, it's coming. It's coming. Nosferatu, buddy, and I want to get ahead of it. And you're like, I want to see it in theaters. I was pumped. I like horror movies, right? Like, it looked creepy. It looked like unsettling. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, cool. Sure hope he doesn't take Nosferatu and do nothing with, which he did. He just, Nosferatu slapped some sex on it and, I don't know, give this girl a seizure meds or something, or anti-seizure meds, and make her have seizures all over the floor and stuff. Yeah, good. There we go. And what sucks is the people that really carried, in my opinion, are the not director. The costumes, like I said, I watched the thing with the woman in the costumes. She was really cool. The costumes were great. The sets were great. You know, the cinematography is great. But, like, the person who wrote and directed it, sorry. It's like, you failed in your department. In my opinion. This is my opinion. It's not gospel. The reason it gets me bothered is it reminds me of this modern art thing, right? And I've done this, like, I keep going back to that because I've had this discussion before, like Pollock and whatnot. Nobody's allowed to question Pollock, right? And if you are, you don't get it. And you're proving you don't get it, and let's not listen to these guys anymore because this guy is an idiot. He doesn't get it. And if he got it, then he would be someone I'd listen to. He just doesn't get it. I do get it. It's dots on a fucking thing of paper. Just because it's a background of him struggling with his masculinity and the manifestation of that frustration on a paint, like, that doesn't mean anything. You look at a painting and it has dots on it. It's not impressive. It's impressive objectively to see the statue of David, right? Something like that. That's like, holy shit, right? There's dimples in this guy's fucking arms. Like, oh my God, amazing. But if you question the other stuff, you're out of the club. And this is just more of this. It's just done in film form. And I dislike it. It's pseudo-intellectual and it's pretentious.
Well, that's why we have this platform, because we can do that without any backlash. Because who cares, really? I mean, we care because we enjoy talking about movies, but your opinion's your opinion. It's okay. I don't think any less of you.
I don't either, by the way. And this is another, by the way, it's even directed. It's really directed to, like, going down this rabbit hole. I listened to a lot. There was one podcast that actually, they were objective. I think it's a husband and wife. It was a man and woman. They had like an hour long when I listened to the whole thing, and they're massive Eggers fans. And I guess they got dressed up and they showed up. And it was funny because, to their credit, they were honest about, in my opinion, and they were like, okay. And you could tell they're really deflated. And they give the whole review, and they're like, love The Lighthouse, love The Northman, like, they're like, oh my God, like, you know, they gave a good feedback, and they're just like, this kind of missed the mark here. But they're being honest about it, and they were two massive fans, like, got dressed up, took pictures. It was like a whole event for them, and they're like, what the hell? Yeah. And I guess that's why it bothers me, is I don't like Pollock remaining in our conversation like it is even today with me bringing it up, right? These people that are supposed to be looked at as, nobody questions the Pollock, my friend. Nobody does. And you're like, okay, but it's not objectively good art. It's subjectively, maybe good art, by the way, subjectively, but it's not objectively. And people tell you Eggers is a decade or era-defining creator. I'm like, no, he's not. You know who is? Here's another hot take, is Kaczynski. I've been thinking a lot about who's my favorite director. I think it's Kaczynski. Yeah. His track record, I think he wins.
That's pretty great. What's he coming out with next?
I forget.
Do you know?
And there's one I haven't watched. Have you watched it? It's Firefighters.
No, I haven't. I wasn't even familiar with that.
It's funny. It's actually kind of like Smoke Jumpers, which is the fake movie in Entourage, apparently. Really? I think it's like Canadian Forest Fire. Yeah, he made that in between Tron Legacy and I think Oblivion or something, but it's extremely well reviewed. It's called like The Brave or something.
Oh, is that the one Josh Brolin is in that?
Maybe? Yeah. That one from what I've seen is highly reviewed. But yeah, that's the one I haven't watched of his.
Okay.
Anyway, someone like him has a flawless track record, in my opinion. Someone like Eggers, I don't know.
Well,
Midsommar and Hereditary,
it's only his fourth movie. Yeah. He's going to make quite a few more, I would assume. He's probably a young guy, maybe 30s, maybe early 40s. He's got a lot of time left to do this. And, yeah, I mean, maybe it was a misstep. You're not going to hit it with all your fans, especially with source material like this, when you have to be specific. And obviously, he took some swings with the sexuality and stuff that wasn't really touched on in the 20s version, because probably it couldn't be. But, yeah, he revamped it for a modern audience. And for me, it worked. For a lot of people, it probably didn't. Period.
I have a question for you. You usually hate period pieces. Why did you like this? Because
I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. I can't figure it out. I want to know because, again, back to Game of Thrones, can't do it. A lot of other stuff, medieval kind of themes, and this dark, dreary gray tone just makes me check out. But this one had me. It just had me. I don't know.
Is it the Gothic time periods? Is it medieval that bothers you think?
I think it's kind of this sense of impending doom. The soundtrack has a big part to do with it. I do realize just the general score keeping me into it, and the performances. If I'm into how these actors are playing their characters, then I'm hooked, really. And Game of Thrones just, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Didn't. Yeah, I mean, I could say the acting's good. I think for Game of Thrones, what bothered me was there was a lot of terminology that was in that I was thinking logistically wouldn't be there, right? They wouldn't be saying 300 feet from something, or it was just taking me out of it, right? But that's just me paying attention to just kind of bullshit, really. And that's when I'm bored. That's when I start paying attention to the bullshit. And that's just what happened there. But yeah, I can't really answer your question.
That's fine. And I wouldn't knock you on that either. Like I said, those nuances matter. They add up.
Yeah, it does. Okay, well, I wish we had more time. What do you want to give this out of 10 points? Can I guess what you're going to score it first?
Yeah, why not?
Is that fair?
Fun. I don't even know myself.
I'm going to say you're going to go 5-1.
No, I think it's 5-8.
Okay, in the fives. Got it.
Yeah, 5. I don't want to give it 6. I just 5.8.
Okay, I'm going 8.1.
It's pretty good.
It's
I thought you'd give it actually higher.
Pretty good. Yeah, I want to watch it again.